Quick revision, Topic 9, Chemistry of the Atmosphere and Global Warming, AQA GCSE Chemistry. The proportion of different gases in the atmosphere has changed massively over the past 200 million years, with almost 1/4 of that is nitrogen, 1/5 is oxygen, and there is a small proportion of various other gases like carbon dioxide, water vapor, and noble gases. The Earth's early atmosphere was different from the current composition. One theory suggests that the proportion of oxygen, nitrogen, and carbon dioxide has changed massively over the years. At the beginning, the main component of the atmosphere of air was carbon dioxide. As we can see here, this is B, this is carbon dioxide, which was more than 90% of the atmosphere on Earth. And then over the first 1 billion year, there was a massive volcanic activity which led to an increase in the concentration of nitrogen in the air. So A here represent the increase in the nitrogen over the years. At the same time, carbon dioxide started to decrease. So the decrease in carbon dioxide was mainly because carbon dioxide, which is a very soluble gas, dissolved in water and formed sedimentary rocks. And then later on, with the evolution of plants, the algae and plants started to take up the carbon dioxide and to produce oxygen. Then oxygen started to increase millions of years later, and the increase of oxygen was due to photosynthesis by the algae and by plants. Now looking at the formation of the fossil fuel. Fossil fuel include the crude oil and also include the coal. So crude oil formation, how crude oil formation began. So first of all, the algae and the small plants that used to live under the water billions of years ago, which are called the plankton, they died under the water and then they were buried under sedimentary rock. Over the years, they were subjected to high pressure and temperature, which led to the formation of the crude oil, and on top of it, there was the natural gas. Coal was formed differently because coal came later on from plants, when after the evolution of the plants and the existence of plants, millions of years ago, a lot of plants died in a swamp and then they were buried under dead plants under dirt. The dead plants were buried under dirt and water, and then they were subjected to high pressure and temperature where the wood and the plant had turned into coal. Greenhouse gases. So what is greenhouse gases? Greenhouse gases are quite important because they maintain the temperature on Earth to be high enough to support life. They include water vapor, carbon dioxide, and methane. The greenhouse gas effect. So the electromagnetic radiation that comes from the sun passes through the Earth's atmosphere, and then the Earth will absorb most of the radiation and it will warm the Earth and the atmosphere. Then the Earth will irradiate energy from the radiation that has been absorbed, and it will radiate it in the form of infrared radiation. Some of that infrared radiation will go into space, but some of it will also be absorbed by the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, and these greenhouse gases will increase the temperature of the lower atmosphere, which leads to the increase in the temperature of the air. So any increase in these greenhouse gases will lead to an increase in the atmospheric temperature. There are some human activities which contribute to an increase in the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. So any activity that increases the level of carbon dioxide or methane will lead to contribute to the greenhouse gas increase in the greenhouse gas in the atmosphere. For example, farming cattle will lead to formation of methane. Burning rice in paddy fields will also produce methane. Burning fossil fuel will give carbon dioxide, And deforestation will increase the level of carbon dioxide because there isn't enough trees to take a lot of carbon dioxide. And finally, decomposition of organic matter in landfill areas will lead to production of methane. Global climate change, an increase in the average global temperature, which is a major cause of the climate change. There are several potential effects of global climate change, and that include the extinction of species, raising the rising of the sea level due to melting of the polar ice caps, migration because people will move from areas that suffer from drought or flooding, and also a decrease in crop yields for all major world crops. Carbon dioxide footprint and its reduction. Carbon footprint is the total amount of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases emitted over the life cycle of product, services, or event. We can reduce the carbon footprint if we reduce activities that increase the greenhouse gases effect, especially carbon dioxide. Of these, we can use less fossil fuel or use an alternative source of electricity or of fuel, reduce the amount of travel and transportation, and planting more trees. However, there might be limited actions that can be taken to reduce the greenhouse gases emission. This is because it might be more difficult to actually take these actions and it could be much more expensive. Planting trees as well will take away land that could be used to grow crops, and using other sources of energy like using the solar energy, using something like solar panel can take large spaces. And finally, some renewable resources like the sun may not be reliable. Atmospheric pollutants from fuel. Most fuels, including coal, contain carbon and hydrogen and also contain some sulfur. The combustion of fuel is a major source of atmospheric pollutants, where the main pollutants are carbon dioxide, and the problem with carbon dioxide is that it's one of the greenhouse gases and it causes global warming and climate change. Carbon dioxide is produced by the complete combustion of the fuel. And then we have carbon monoxide, which is produced due to the incomplete combustion of fuel. Carbon monoxide is a toxic gas and can cause suffocation. And then we have carbon, which is also one of the product of the incomplete combustion of fossil fuel. And carbon is called particulate and it causes global dimming and respiratory problems. And because the fossil fuel contains some sulfur, when we burn the fossil fuel, sulfur that is contained in the fossil fuel will react with oxygen to give sulfur dioxide. And sulfur dioxide is a non-metallic oxide, which is acidic, so it causes acid rain, which causes corrosion of building and statues, and also alter the pH of soil and river, and has a bad effect on the ecosystem. Also, because of the high temperature that we can see in the engine of cars, nitrogen and oxygen from air can react together to give nitrogen oxides. So like nitrogen oxide and nitrogen dioxide, and this also one of the non-metallic oxygen oxides, which are acidic, so they can lead to acid rain.